The NBA's Most Valuable Player Award is the biggest achievement that any basketball player can get, aside from winning an NBA championship. And winning one is as much of a blessing as it is a curse. Because once you've gotten even one MVP award, you are supposed to lead your team to an NBA championship. Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, and right now even Russell Westbrook know what I'm talking about. And the media will have you believe for the newly renamed Michael Jordan Trophy this year is really a race between two players. But that's only what they want you to think. You have been lied to, because the trophy often doesn't go to the most valuable player, but it does go to whoever they want it to. And I know you actually care who the real MVP is. So I'll give you the 4 players who have proven themselves to be legit NBA MVP candidates, and the journey they traveled to become the best in the game. To qualify for this list, you've got to meet 3 criteria. The first is you have to play for a legitimate NBA playoff team. I'm talking top 6 seeds with at least 50 wins. Not to be confused with an NBA play-in team. Cause let's be honest, you can't be that valuable if you can't even help your team book a first-class ticket to the playoffs. Secondly, you gotta play at least 60 games during the regular season, because no professional job in America would ever consider you to be that valuable if you don't show up to work at least 75% of the time. You have to rate at least in the NBA's top 15 in player efficiency rating for the entire season, because Jordan and LeBron have led the league in that stat more than anyone else in the modern era. And if it's good enough for them, then it's good enough for me. Let's get started. Joel Embiid is the engine that powers the Philadelphia 76ers. And he had better be, because he's about all they have to show for years of tanking with what they called the process. And Embiid's career got off to a shaky start, because after becoming a 5-star recruit at Kansas, he became the 3rd pick in the NBA draft. And then missed not only 1, but 2 full seasons. But those injuries are behind him now, and he is an MVP candidate, so all has been forgiven in the city of brotherly love. So here is Joel Embiid's campaign for the Michael Jordan Trophy, a moment most of us never thought we'd ever get to see from a career that got off to the rockiest of starts. If you remember the MJ edition of Space Jam, where the Monstars stole everybody's talent, Joel Embiid is kinda like that. It's like the question about what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And that's just a trick question, because the unstoppable force is Joel Embiid, and the object will probably choose to move itself. Embiid leads the NBA in scoring at 33 points per game, and he's also top 10 in rebounds and in blocks. That makes him a stat monster. And he's maybe the closest thing we've ever seen to Hakeem Olajuwon, at least in the new NBA. The one without hand checking and freedom of movement, 3-point shooting and floor spacing. Embiid is a true center who at times can move like a guard, and led the 76ers to a 3rd place finish in the Eastern Conference. It is clear that Embiid is the reason why, because his player efficiency rating is 2nd in the league only to Nikola Jokic, but his usage rate is way higher than Jokic, because he ain't in the top 20, and Embiid is 3rd. But forget about all that, because when you actually watch NBA basketball, it is clear that Joel Embiid is built different. He sends the message to his opponents that he can do basically whatever he wants, whenever he feels like it. And the best argument for Embiid as MVP isn't even about Embiid at all. Joel Embiid plays the way we wish Anthony Davis would play, all the time. If you remember, Anthony Davis with the Pelicans was basically this good, but he never played on a team this successful. Joel Embiid is everything the Sixers need, offensively and defensively. Because let's be honest, James Harden just ain't what he used to be. He wasn't an all-star this year, and nobody else on the Sixers was either. And to keep it real, nobody on the Sixers has really had a breakout season. Tyrese Maxey, I'm looking at you. To be the NBA's MVP, you have to be the most dominant force in the game. And there are many nights, regardless of who the Sixers are playing against, where that is true for Joel Embiid. And now he even has a scoring title to prove it. Nikola Jokic was a second-round draft pick from Serbia, which basically means every NBA team had a chance to pick him and passed up on him for somebody else. But now he is a leader in the NBA's MVP race for a reason, because he is the best player on the best team in the Western Conference. And if you're honest, you probably can't name half of the players on the Denver Nuggets roster. And if you can, I bet you have an NBA League Pass subscription. In fact, the only other player on their roster who has ever been an NBA All-Star is DeAndre Jordan. And if you know anything about basketball, he played 15 minutes a game this season for less than half of it. So he ain't the reason why they're winning. Jokic has the Nuggets locked in as the number 1 seed, and defenders have every reason to be locked in on him when they play against Denver. So here is his case for the MVP, as a big man in a small ball league. And before I mention any numbers, it is impressive that a team of players who you'd barely recognize if they walked into Walmart is leading the Western Conference because of him. Jokic is the best at what he does. Statistically speaking, he's kinda like a Rubik's Cube. You can clearly see the different parts to his game, but it's hard to put it all together. He's second in the entire NBA in rebounds per game, but 18th in points per game at 24.5. We normally expect more scoring from an MVP, but Jokic ain't normal, because he's averaging 9 assists per game, and he is a 7-foot center, so he's top 5 in the league in assists. But to make all of this more confusing, his usage rate isn't even cracking the top 20. Beyond those numbers, Jokic makes a difference by being the best at what he does. JJ Redick pointed out on his podcast that a Nikola Jokic post-up is the most efficient play you could run to score a bucket in the last decade. That stat should not be ignored, and it is for reasons like this that Jokic is leading the NBA in player efficiency rating. And remember, that is the stat where Jordan and LeBron dominated the NBA for years, so it should be good enough for Jokic to win an MVP award. And on top of all that, Jokic is the heart and soul of the Nuggets, because nobody is scared to play against Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. without Jokic in the lineup. Simply put, the Nuggets roster doesn't make much sense without Jokic. They have a point guard who's a below average distributor, at least for a starting point guard in the NBA. And they don't really have any shot creators. Jokic is the engine that drives the offense, and almost any open shots that are generated started with him, which is why he's basically leading the league in assists as a center. In the age of small ball, Jokic is the anti-hero. He is a big man in a guards and wings league who is dominating by doing everything his way. The Nuggets may or may not win a championship, but because of a second-round draft pick from Serbia, who panned out better than anyone else could have hoped, they actually have a shot. Otherwise, they'd likely be headed to the lottery in the NBA draft, hoping to win the Wembanyama sweepstakes this year. If you are really good at something for a very long amount of time, people will eventually get sick of you. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is really, really good at basketball, and he's been doing it for a while. Most people would agree he's the best player in the NBA, and it's been like that for a minute now. And that also means that the disrespect is starting to get real out here. After going 15th in the draft, which was clearly a steal, the Greek Freak has worked his way into the conversation for one of the greatest players of all time, and his career is only half over. Giannis already went back-to-back as the NBA's most valuable player and won an NBA championship. So if the Michael Jordan Trophy is about awarding the best player, here is a hot take. Giannis Antetokounmpo still is the best player. And I've got the receipts to prove it, because not only is he the best player, but he's on the best team, and it ain't even close. So here is Giannis' campaign to win NBA MVP again, an award that they won't give him anyway, because they already got bored with giving it to him. Giannis is the best winner, because the NBA's Most Valuable Player Award means most valuable player for a reason. And that reason is supposed to be winning basketball games. Giannis wins more games during the regular season than anyone. And if the goal is to actually win a championship, that sets you up to do it better than anyone else, with home court throughout the entire playoffs. The Milwaukee Bucks played much of this season without their second leading scorer, Chris Middleton. And even when he came back, he came off the bench for a while. And nobody even noticed, because the Bucks kept winning basketball games. Giannis is actually so good, and the Bucks caused so little drama, that their biggest acquisition between last year and this year is Jay Crowder. No disrespect, but he only played 18 games, and he averaged 7 points, so he ain't really the reason why they're winning. The Bucks were the best team in the league, 5 games ahead of the Nuggets, and the only logical reason for that is Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if you need more evidence, then buckle up, because Giannis is actually the best player in the league across the board. He finished 5th in the league in scoring, with a higher field goal percentage than anyone in the top 15. He led the league in usage rate, so you can't say he's not trying his hardest out there. And he was tied for 2nd in the league in rebounds, with Nikola Jokic. We could keep playing the statistics game, but if you actually watch basketball, I've got a serious question. If you're going into an NBA playoff series, and you need to pick one player in the league to lead your team, who are you going with if it ain't Giannis? If you don't want the 2-time MVP, who's actually an NBA champion, then I wish you the best of luck. I could mention he was top 5 in player efficiency rating, but none of this even matters, because Giannis is disqualified from winning the Michael Jordan trophy anyway, because they hate to give it to the same guy twice. People only act like they don't know how good Giannis actually is because the media doesn't want you to know. Milwaukee gets less love from the media than Mariah gives to Nick Cannon. And Giannis already twisted the arm of the media to make him the back-to-back MVP in the past. So I guess this season, the Larry O'Brien Trophy in the NBA Finals is the best that Giannis can do. And he already knows that, and he's fine with it. Wherever there is smoke, there is normally fire. And Jayson Tatum is the reason why the Boston Celtics have been on fire this season. After leading the Celtics to the NBA Finals, literally last season, the narrative has been created that he cannot do it again. But years into his NBA career, Jayson Tatum is exactly who we thought he was. He was a 5-star recruit who went one and done at Duke, became the 3rd pick in the draft, and then led the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals as a rookie, losing in Game 7 to LeBron James. But he's all grown up now, and Tatum leading a team to success is not a fluke. So here is his case for the Michael Jordan Trophy, which would go incredibly well with his Jordan brand sneakers. Jayson Tatum is different from every other player in the MVP race because he has always been a major part of his team's success. Nobody, not even Giannis, played that well as a rookie to help his team make a legitimate playoff run. And maybe his early success as a rookie makes people think that the Celtics never really needed him that badly. But honestly, the Celtics don't really know a world without Jayson Tatum since he got there. And they also don't know what it means to not make the playoffs since he got drafted. He actually played more games and more minutes than anyone else in the MVP race. And his team is just 1 game behind the Bucks for the best record in the NBA. Winning is a habit for Tatum, which is why he won a state championship in Missouri as a senior. And being the best is a habit for Tatum, which is why he also won the Gatorade National Player of the Year. But that's only half the story, because we talking about MVP now. What if I told you that Jayson Tatum right now is playing at the same level as Kobe Bryant was when he was doing a three-peat with the Lakers? Because that is just how good the numbers look if you compare them line for line. The only thing you can really say about Kobe is that he averaged 2 steals to Tatum's 1 steal per game. But Tatum right now is a better rebounder than Kobe Bryant ever was at any point in his career. He's top 25 in rebounds, 6th in the league in scoring, 5th in usage rate, and 8th in player efficiency. The truth is that none of the league's top wing players have been available to play a lot of games this season, except Jayson Tatum. Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard might be better players, but that doesn't matter if they're not on the court long enough for us to watch it. And the Celtics win because of Jayson Tatum, not despite his absence. And he may not be his idol Kobe Bryant, but his early career success has gotten him pretty close. It's too bad that won't be enough to win him the MVP award this season, because the media just ain't checking for him. But that's not really his goal anyway. He's trying to get back to the NBA Finals, just like Kobe did. The NBA's Most Valuable Player Award means so much because it crowns a player as the king of the court, but it also comes with the expectations for them to win without any excuses. The media chooses the MVP, and we already know the 2 names they've reduced the list down to. But if you're really looking for the most valuable player, you should probably focus on the best players on the best teams in the entire NBA. Either way, the Michael Jordan Trophy will be handed out to somebody on this list. Let's just hope for their sake that the Larry O'Brien Trophy is soon to follow. I'm Coach Rob, and thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want to see more content like this, then please like and subscribe.